My name is Alexis Killinger, and this is my language literacy acquisition synthesis. The whole point of this class was to help children to become better writers in the classroom. First, we have balanced literacy. The first component of balanced literacy is interactive writing. Interactive writing is the writing process used to teach students how to write. The process involves a sharing of the writing responsibilities between both teacher and student. Teacher will write some, followed by the student trying out on their own. This can be done in one-on-one settings all the way to whole group instruction. Next, we have shared writing. Shared writing is similar to interactive writing, but the difference is that in this method, the teacher acts as a sole scribe while the students contribute the ideas or words for the teacher to write. The difference in these teaching writing methods is just who holds the pen during writing. Finally, we have independent writing. During independent writing, students produce their own original writing pieces, pulling on their knowledge of writing skills shown during guided practice and teacher modeling. This is a time for students to work on developing their own writing without the influence or guidance from our instructors. Next, we have the writing workshop model. The first part of the writing workshop model is the mini lesson or introduction. In this, teachers will begin the writer's workshop with a skill-based mini lesson. These mini lessons are determined by the student's needs or a specific skill set that the teacher wants their students to be able to exemplify in their own writing. For example, if the students are ending their writing process, give a mini lesson on publishing so that students will know how to finalize their pieces as they approach this ending step. Mini lessons or skill introductions can be introduced in a variety of ways, such as mentor text, anchor charts, shared writing, and more. This beginning of the writer's workshop helped give a preview to students about what skills it is expected to be shown in their own writing. This leads to writing time. Since a writer's workshop follows the pattern I do, we do, you do, what comes next is writing time for the students. Students take away what they have learned in their mini lessons and apply it to their own individual writing pieces. The student gets to choose what they work on during this time. It is their own original work. During this time, the teacher can choose to conference with students or model independent writing themselves. Finally, we have share time. This is the final stage in the writer's workshop. This stage is arguably the most important step for the students. Kids want and need to share and receive feedback and praise for all of their hard work. This can be done in either small groups, pairs, or whole group setting. It really depends on what your students feel comfortable with. For example, some classrooms have a share chair where students can get in front of their peers and their teacher and share out some of their writing. This is so important to building children's self-image as a writer and to build confidence in their writing abilities. Next, we have the writing process. The first stage is rehearsing or pre-writing. Rehearsing and pre-writing is the first step of the writing process, because the first thing to do in beginning the writing process is generating ideas to write about. This brainstorming can be clustering, mapping, listing, timelines, or responses to literature, or so much more. Students should be allowed the freedom to do what feels right or what is comfortable for them in order to generate ideas for their writing. For example, if a student wants to draw out all of their brainstorming ideas, they should be allowed to if that will help them get their ideas from their head to their paper. It's whatever works for the student. Next, we have drafting. In the drafting step, students begin to actually put their words onto the paper. Students should write whatever comes to mind, be encouraged not to erase their work, and take chances on their writing. In this step, conventions and revisions should not even be thought of. The main focus should just be getting their writing down onto the paper. After drafting comes revising. In revising, the student is starting to change their writing that they put down during the drafting stage. This entails deleting what you don't need, adding what you do need, reorganizing what may be confusing, rewording sentences and phrases, or strengthening of the piece overall. Next, we have editing. This is where the students will make changes to grammar, usage, punctuation, and spelling. Where this differs from revising is that editing focuses on the nitpicky little things about language and technicalities rather than content. You scan your language for accuracy throughout the writing piece. For example, in revising, you would add more to a sentence to make it more specific and add more detail to the piece, but in editing, you would go back and correct misspelled words throughout the sentence. This leads to sharing. Students in this step will share with others and give positive and specific responses to peers' writing. This is where they share their writing one last time before they publish their writing. And then finally, we have publishing. This is the final stage that wraps up the writing process. Legibility, neatness, artwork, and penmanship play a huge factor here. The more authentic opportunities that students have to publish their work, the more motivated that they will be to develop and refine their ideas. Publishing encourages feelings of success and accomplishment within students. Publishing should be whatever the student feels most comfortable with in displaying their work. For example, you could use a story jumper if they'd like to do a technology-based publishing, or they could create a cover for their book and they could just bind it with paper clips or with staples or with binder rings. It's really whatever the student feels comfortable putting their work on display with. Lastly, we have the 6 traits of writing. The first trait being ideas. This is where the writer will elaborate effectively on a single topic to convey a clear message to the readers. Ideas are the content of a piece of writing. It helps the writer and the reader remain focused on one single idea. Ideas help students become more specific in their writing and not general throughout the writing. Next, we have organization. This is when the student aligns their ideas in a logical order, including have a beginning to a middle to an end in their writing pieces. It holds the information together and helps the reader follow a logical flow in their writing. Voice is when the writer becomes an intentional writer by adding feeling, attitude, or emotion into their writing piece. The writer's personality comes out in the writing piece. It becomes obvious that the writer is engaged with the topic and adds individuality to the writing. Next, we have word choice. When this is utilized, the right word is placed into the right place in writing to convey just the right meaning. Students will intentionally place words in writing in a way that meaningfully adds to the writing overall. Word choice gives clarity, evokes moods, feelings, and creates a vivid picture in the reader's head. Next, we have sentence fluency. This improves the readability of a piece and makes sure the writing has complete thoughts and sentence variety. It is the rhythm or flow of the piece. And finally, we have conventions. In this last trait, conventions are all a part of the editing process. This involves spelling, indentations, punctuation, grammar, capitalization, and paragraphing. When conventions are used correctly, readers can easily follow the text and gain meaning from what they are reading. When all of these are used together, effectively they will create a good writer out of children and build their confidence.